All right, welcome everybody. Doing a random podcast here out of the blue after we've stopped for a good long time. With me tonight, our
It's
fantasy
been
pen.
well over a year, man.
It has, yes, fantasy
Oh,
pen and Tracted.
hello.
And tonight we're going to be advancing a Winter Wolf with racial hit dice to go from the original 6 HD to why not max it, according to the stat block anyway, to 18 HD. Boosted size from large to huge, and a whole bunch of other stuff along the way. So I'm guessing that a lot of people probably haven't messed with advancement too much. Even DMs, I find, tend to rather use other creatures than advance them, but I really enjoy it. I think it's a lot of fun advancing it, customizing it, and changing stuff around. So that's what we're
Extra
going to do.
prep time. You got to basically revamp the whole stat block, so it really adds to your prep time and
Oh, yes.
do a lot of work. But it can definitely be rewarding because your players will be expecting, this creature, it's no like CR3, we can take it, and then you advance it, and now it's like two sizes larger, and it's +5 CR, and like what's going on?
Counterpoint to that, it gives you a great way to make ancient legendary monsters. Like, they're no longer fighting just an ordinary direwolf. They are facing Hati and Skoll, the legendary direwolves who have immunity to fire and cold.
And
Yeah,
won't they regret it?
normal direwolf has 6 hit dice, whereas an advanced direwolf can have up to 18 hit dice, which is a lot of hit dice.
And it's going to get, let's see, +4 con from all this. So it's going to get a whole lot of extra HP here.
So which monster are you looking at, Mike?
Winter Wolf. I'm just going. Can you see the changes I'm making as I make them?
I don't think you turned on screen share.
Oh, I see it. Hang
Okay.
on.
I thought I did.
Joining the screen share. Oh yeah, you're doing it in a spreadsheet.
Yeah, you do have to join it. Let's see. Okay, and in the new challenge rating, I just looked at it and now I forgot it was +4. There we go. So it's going to go from a 5 to a 9, supposedly. Just go ahead and throw it in that one block there. Okay.
Yeah, so when you advance a monster by hit dice, you have to consult the chart in the monster manual, and it tells you how many CR to add per hit die. And it's different for different types of monsters because different types of monsters have different hit dice. And an outsider hit die, for example, is a lot more powerful than an undead hit die. It's just creature type differences.
There are actually a bunch of different little tables that you need to reference when you're doing this, which goes right into what you said earlier, Attracted / Jasmine, about the increased prep time. I know that when I customized a beholder, which I just mentioned to you two earlier, I was adding classes and racial hit die to it, so there was all kinds of crazy crap that I was doing to it, and that took hours.
Yeah, what's the hit die to CR ratio for a magical beast? I know Winterwolf is a magical beast.
It's +3 hit dice for 1 CR.
Right, and the default one is 6 hit dice, so we're adding 12 hit dice, so it's +4 CR.
And I always like to compare it. Like, once everything's all done, I kind of like to look at its CR and see how accurate that change actually is. Because sometimes it's pretty good, but a lot of times it's like, this is off. Kind of.
It's like my monster just gained, 5 bonus feats and 100 HP, and it's only +1 CR from them.
Yeah, that can
It,
happen.
it, it doesn't always line up well, but once you add in all the stats from the hit dice, it can definitely get stronger than you expect. So it's something to be careful of.
And one big thing is if the creature that you're messing with has special abilities that require DCs, like if you can force players to make saves, that can get boosted really quickly depending on what it's based off of. Like, for example, if it's based on Constitution and it's going up in size, it gets a huge boost from that, and that increases the save DC. And then you could also be like, oh yeah, and I want ability focus because it originally had toughness and alertness, and screw that crap. So then all these things can make what used to be a relatively easy save a very difficult save.
And if you're looking at something like a magical beast, for example, magical beast hit dice, they're D10s, they're full base attack bonus. They got 2 good saves. Basically, it's like you're giving them levels in warrior. But normally, a warrior level, you'll increase the CR by 1 for every 2 warrior levels, for 2 levels in an NPC class, right? But with these hit dice, it's +1 challenge rating per 3 hit dice. So you're getting 50% more power than if you advance by an NPC class, but it's the same CR.
Alright, I'm gonna figure out the grapple for this sucker now. Let's see. Strength is now 26 plus 8. And it's huge. That's plus 8, right? So we're looking at
Yeah, that sounds right.
34 unless we throw some other modifiers on there, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
That's pretty fucking great for a CR9 creature.
For
Oh
those of our
god.
listeners who aren't aware, a lot of the times the advancement line will specify a size. So when you advance by this many hit dice, then you have to increase the monster's size. And there's a table, also in the monster manual, that tells you how to change the statistics when you advance the creature by hit dice and it increases in size as a result. Since the Winter Wolf is going from large to huge, you add an extra +8 to its strength, -2 to its dexterity, +4 constitution, +3 natural armor. And of course, its size modifier changes by 1.
Yeah, is it only 1?
Don't forget that the size changes are cumulative.
Yeah, so I was thinking.
They are. Oh, and the natural weapons also increase in damage. So the Winter Wolf previously, as a large creature, had a D8 damage for its bite attack. So now it has a D6, or 2D6 damage for its bite attack.
Yes, that's another thing. In 3.5, once you have a D8, the next size up is 2D6. Your actual dice size will change with size. It's not just going to add D4s or whatever.
Yeah, going from a D8 to a D6 is particularly nice because that's one of the spots in the size increase where the damage actually increases more than usual. Normally you're getting like a die size increases by 1 from like a D6 to D8. That's only +1 damage on average. From a D8 to 2D6 is +2.5 damage on average. Not too bad. Not too bad. Now another thing you gotta watch out for when you're advancing a monster is you gotta increase its base attack bonus. You gotta increase its base saves. You gotta increase its skill points. That's right, monsters have skill points. If you've never advanced a monster by hit dice, the class skills for it are all the skills that are listed in its entry. So it usually involves any skills that they by default have ranks in, as well as any skills they have racial bonuses to. And funny enough, it typically also includes skills that they have racial penalties to, which is kind of odd, but they appear in the skill line, so they count as class skills.
As someone who makes a lot of their monsters just completely from scratch, I will tell you that the monster skill points they're just such a mess.
Oh god, yeah. I fudge the skills whenever I do this kind of stuff. I'm like, I'm probably gonna use these skills, and I just put
Yeah,
max ranks
it's
in
like
those and ignore the rest of my points.
you basically want to give them like 4 skills and then just max out the ranks in that. Ignore the intelligence penalties, ignore what it says their skills are. You just really don't want to have much more than 4. If it's meant to be a big boss monster that can be interacted with in ways other than combat, you might want to go up to 6 or 8.
Now, for me, the trickiest part of advancing a monster is usually figuring out what feats to give it. Because when it gains hit dice, it also gains feats. Every 3 hit dice, that's a feat. Just like for players, monsters get feats too for their hit dice.
That's for those of you that are joining us from 5th edition or even 4th edition, a big thing about 3.5 and 3.0 even, monsters advance like players. That was a huge selling point of 3.5. And it, in some ways, makes monsters easier to customize, but it also adds paperwork. 3rd edition is the paperwork edition. There's a lot of numbers,
That's
a lot
good.
of tables, a lot of crunching. But it does have a payoff.
In this case, the payoff is that your monster gets to take toughness a bunch of times because who has the bandwidth to keep track of a bunch of, weird fiddly feats? You just want ones that give solid, flat monster stats that you won't need to worry about too much in combat.
Never give your monsters toughness.
Oh, I give my
Just
monsters
don't do it.
toughness all the time.
Yeah, seriously, that's like, oh god, I still have one more feat. Oh,
No,
take your 3
you
hit
only
points.
need one use of improved toughness. That's it.
Well, yeah, I mean, if I want it a little bit longer, then I'll give it improved toughness. But if I just don't care, then bam, 3 hit points.
Yeah, or like Iron Will, lightning reflexes.
Yeah, those are great too. Yeah. Be like, all right.
Okay, so here's what you want to give it. Power attack.
Oh yeah.
Power attack. Yeah, that's power attack, improved natural attack.
So what are we looking at for damage with that one?
Weapon. Does this thing qualify for awesome blow? I think it does. That'd be a fun thing to have it use.
I'd have to look at the prerequisites for that
Awesome
one.
blow, that's the one where you take a -5 penalty to hit and then you knock them back like 15 feet. Yeah,
Yeah.
the requirements for that. Power attack and then like 25 strength or something. Then you have to be large size or larger. That one can be
Well, yeah. Yeah, it meets all those requirements.
especially on monsters that only have one attack anyway. It can be, cute. You put the monster in an encounter where there's like an environmental hazard, then you also blow and throw them across the room, and they land in a spike pit or something.
So 2d6 just going to be 3d6 then, right?
Yeah, improved natural attack increases it by 1 die size. Improved natural attack, that's another great one that you can usually put on a monster and it'll just be like, yeah, this is a normal increase to the monster statistics. It's boring. I don't have to think too much about it.
Hey, wait a second.
Pen, you remember that monster
Where's
that I
that
talked about
one piece-
advancing?
What was that?
Remember that monster I talked about advancing a while back for our game?
I remember you talking about it, but you never told me what it was.
I'm not going to, but I will say that it has improved natural attack, and its damage is scary.
Its damage is more than twice my wizard's maximum hit points.
Yeah.
One shot from that thing, and I am chunky salsa.
Yeah, so some time ago in the Discord chat, Mike was talking about how he advanced a monster to use during our campaign, and he was talking about the damage it could do. And it's like, oh yeah, it deals 56 damage per round, and then Pen is just like wide eyes emoji, because our characters, they got like 30 hit points at this point in the campaign.
Yeah, level 5. Okay, so
I wish I had 30 hit points.
improved bull rush. The only prerequisite for that is power attack, right?
Yeah.
Cool.
You're not going to give this thing ability focus?
Well, which would you like to get rid of? Track? That sounds terrible, right?
No, track's a bonus feat. You can't remove it.
Oh, I didn't know it was bonus.
Yeah, when you're modifying a monster like
Oh,
this,
it's not listed as bonus feat.
Is if the feat in the monster's stat block has a superscript B on
Yeah,
it, then
it has no bonus feats.
Winter wolves, unlike regular wolves, don't get tracked as a bonus feat. They have to take it as a feat.
Wow.
Honestly, I think it's better than improved bull rush, but
Well, improved bull rush is a prerequisite for awesome blow.
Yeah, if you're going to take awesome blow, you need improved bull rush.
Yeah.
I missed that part.
So I've already forgotten the feat you suggested.
Ability focus, breath weapon.
Oh yeah, of course.
Yeah. Oh yeah. A lot of the monsters' save DCs. Also, when you're advancing a monster, you need to keep an eye out for their save DCs because, in most cases, the save DCs are calculated based on their hit dice. So, like with the Winter Wolf, it normally has a DC 16 saving throw on its breath weapon.
I thought ability focus increased it by 3.
Ability to focus increases it by 2.
I thought it was 2.
I'm thinking of skill
Advancing it by
focus. Sorry.
But advancing it by 12 hit dice increases it by 6, because that 16 basic DC for the breath weapon is actually calculated by 10 plus half its hit dice plus its constitution modifier. So you add 12 hit dice, you just increase the DC by 6. And I
Very.
guess you also increase the constitution modifier for boosting its size, so plus 8 or something, and then ability focus is another plus 2, so you're going to end up with DC 26 for half.
Yeah. The downside is I don't think that
Now,
cold
I've
damage
got
is
a
going to be
question.
boosted by anything.
I have a question. Does anyone know where that 1d6 cold damage in its bite damage is coming from, and why does it not get boosted by improved natural attack?
It comes from the freezing bite supernatural ability that it has in its stat block. It says a winter wolf deals an extra 1d6 points of cold damage every time it bites an opponent, as if its bite were a frost weapon.
Bam, there it is.
Alright, speaking of the breath weapon, Mike, you might want to increase the damage. What's it normally? Half hit dice? D6s?
The damage is 4d6.
Yeah, I think that's set. I don't
Yeah,
think
that's
that's
of the
based on
basic-
anything.
Yeah, that's the base one. What's its normal hit dice again? 8, right?
6 normally.
Okay, so that's just over. So it's half hit dice plus 1.
Well,
so,
2/3.
yeah.
I mean, if you're going to say it's 2/3, then you'd be looking at 12. But
Actually,
I'm not sure if that's how it works for breath weapon, though, is it?
no, it doesn't
No,
work.
I'm
It's,
looking at this specific breath weapon.
Uh-huh.
So,
by default, they don't scale with hit dice. So
Yeah.
hit dice won't improve the damage, only the save DC.
So
I'm
sad.
just saying you probably want to give it more breath weapon.
Yeah,
So
You're just saying like a
ain't gonna be doing much.
you mean like a
Empower
DM
breath.
ad hoc type of thing, right?
Yeah.
Empower breath would be a good feat to add if you want to improve the breath weapon. That's always good. It's from for our listeners who aren't familiar with it. I believe it's from Geoconomicon.
Empowered breath weapon?
Yeah, empower breath. It's a
Empower
meta
breath.
breath feat, and I believe it increases the recharge time, but it also boosts the damage by 50%.
Yeah.
I'd say keep improved initiative, but I do love that feat, so I'm biased there.
Yeah, it should probably keep improved initiative. That won't hurt any.
Wow, that was pretty quick. I think that's
Yeah.
everything. I mean, obviously,
I mean,
skills, but
it's a magical beast. They're not exactly the most complicated creature.
It's true. But now let's take a look at this. So looking at a CR9 with plus 24, probably gonna hit most of the time.
That happens a lot when you're advancing monsters with full base attack bonus creature types, like magical beasts, because you end up with high attack bonuses. And then you're like, well, I guess I should probably take power attack on this creature or something.
Yeah, offense just scales so ridiculously fast. It's
Yeah.
frustrating because it makes it very hard to build a defensively focused character.
Yeah. But yeah, this thing's definitely gonna smash face when it hits too. But fortunately for the players, it only has the one attack, but that one attack is gonna hurt, especially when you start throwing the power attack in, like everybody's saying now.
So average of 26 damage on a hit. That's not bad.
Speak for yourself. That would knock Anatolio down to 1 hit point.
Actually, it's average 30
Well, yeah,
damage.
It's CR9.
Fair enough.
It certainly could be worse. And then you can power attack and add like, I bet this thing could easily power attack for 6 or 7.
Yeah.
Well,
Definitely.
I mean, it's got a base attack bonus of 18, so it can power attack for 18.
Well, but it probably. Well, I mean,
In theory,
the first
in
attack
theory.
maybe like to see, how can I do this? Can I crush them right away and then go full power attack? And then if it misses, then like, maybe not. Try something lesser.
Winter Wolves are actually pretty smart. They got an intelligence of 9, which is only slightly below the intelligence of the average human.
Yeah, relatively speaking.
So they can do tactics. They'll often team up with allies and flank, and then use the flanking bonus, and then turn that into a damage bonus with power attack.
Oh, Mike, did you raise any of its stats for leveling up?
Nope, didn't go that far. I just did the size increase changes.
Alright. Yeah, well,
You have to get what, 3?
it's 1 for every 4 hit dice, so...
Yeah, 3.
Yeah, so you get 3 to add. A lot of people don't know that monsters have ability score bonuses every 4 levels, and that's actually included in their stat block. When you look at a monster stat block, if it's got 8 hit dice, then its racial modifiers include a +2 to ability scores from every 4, from having 8 hit dice. 1 every 4 hit dice.
It'd probably just be either 2 into strength or 2 into con and 1 into dex to get the dex back up to +1.
Yeah, that sounds
Make up for that.
That sounds pretty good.
Make up for that size loss, which would put this back where it was with 15.
Shouldn't the natural armor bonus be higher?
Let's see. It was originally
Right. Natural
5.
armor goes up with size, too.
And it goes up by 1 from size, so 6? I don't think I missed anything with natural armor.
No, it should go up by 3 for size.
Oh, that's not cumulative. That's... Oh yeah, I was looking at the table in the wrong manner. You're right. So from large to huge, it is +3. So that's that. Thank you. And then that was not changed. That was changed.
There's kind of a meme in 3.5 that the monster stat blocks, or NPC stat blocks, are always wrong.
Oh man, the ones that really stand out that are wrong are really, really wrong. Like how did this pass editing wrong?
Yeah, but you can see why they're wrong. Is because there's so many fiddly things that you need to keep track of when you're making an NPC, and it's really easy to forget a stray point of AC or point of attack bonus, or maybe you're missing a feat, or maybe you have an extra feat. So it's so complicated to advance monsters in this edition that making a 100% error-free NPC stat block is usually require like a team of multiple people checking it.
Yeah, there was
Which
one.
they have.
Yeah, there was one like really exceptionally bad stat block, and it's right on the tip of my tongue. It's irritating that I can't remember at this moment because I just saw it recently, and the number was off by like a factor of 10. So it's just comical to see it. And now I can't think of what it was.
The upside, though, is that as the DM, you're the boss, so you can decide what? No, this is absolutely correct. And you don't have enough knowledge in character to know why it's correct. But yes, this is slightly unusual for a winter wolf. And yes, that is a true statement.
So that strength didn't really do much for it. It was +1 to attack, and I believe that's it.
Well, damage.
But unfortunately, that would make it go from 8 to 9, so 1.5 times. It's not getting anything from that.
It's like, you don't know this winter wolf's life. It hung out in a monastery for 2 years, and that's why it has an extra dodge feat. Yes.
I don't know, I kind of like this one, actually. I feel like this one is not too overpowered despite its extra 12 hit dice, just because it only gets 1 attack. It's going to hit when it hits, but it's only going to hit once every time. Usually I feel bad about doing something like this, throwing at the party, because it'll get like 6 attacks, and they're all going to hit for all this crazy damage, whatever. And then the party's like, what have you done? But, I don't know. I kind of like this one.
Yeah, should it be higher damage, by the way?
I don't think so.
So you got +12 in there, but it's got a strength modifier of +9. Then it should be times 1.5 because it's a primary natural weapon. So it should be +13, I think.
But isn't it rounded down?
Well, yeah, but...
Oh, yeah. No, you're both right. Pfft, go me. Yes. Yeah, you both called me out on that. And another thing, actually, that I like about it retaining its CR9 status not getting altered up or down is the fact that its AC is also low. So even though its hit points, I didn't calculate this yet, it's going to be really high HP. and it's going to hit really hard, but you'll still be able to fight it off. Not so, difficult. So that's
Hey,
good.
is this screen share going to show up
It's
to
flat.
YouTube when you upload it?
Yeah, this is what I'm
Its
recording. Yep.
flat-footed AC is off by 1. Flat foot, not touch.
Yeah, so flat footage should be
16.
right 16 flat footed, and then 9 touch.
I think I might have to save this monster. I like it.
All right, that was an easy one.
Yeah.
Now let's try a dragon.
How long do you want to make this podcast?
I might be attempting to make you die of exhaustion.
So
Dragon stat blocks are the worst. You look in the monster manual, it's just like, oh yeah, here's a spreadsheet of the stats. Instead of a normal stat block for each age, it's like they didn't have enough pages to do that. You've got to go into Draconomicon or something.
yeah, and also with dragons, I mean, there's so much less incentive to advance it just because instead of advancing it, you could just pick a different age category and use those stats.
Yeah, or give it class levels, or give it like a sovereign archetype or something.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff for dragon. I mean, it is called Dungeons and Dragons, so they do have a whole lot of support. But
Even make it a
What
Zorvental
about dragons, man?
yeah, there you go.
Or a Zorvental dragon from one of those later monster manuals. It's a template that you put on the dragon. It removes the spell casting, and then it adds a bunch of like 4th edition style combat abilities.
Huh. I know in my
That was a what now, Jasmine?
A template +0 challenge rating template from one of the later monster manuals.
and the name of it again, it was that Zorthental. That one? Is that what you're talking?
Zorvental dragon, yeah.
Yeah, that's it.
Like 4 or 5.
I'm pretty sure it's 5. Yeah, that was interesting. I remember that. Shoot, was I? Oh yeah, in my oh dear, Shackled City. There we go. In my Shackled City game, I heavily altered a lot of things, but one of the things I changed was the big mean red dragon. In that, I changed to a Brain Stealer dragon, the Illithid dragon, and I did advance that one. I think I took it to whatever the max HD was, so that was fun advancing that, picking out all its psionic goodies and whatnot. That took a fair amount of time. Not as long as the Beholder, though. That Beholder was the piece de resistance.
Oh man, I remember I once threw an advanced Morgue against my players. I don't know if you know the Morgue. It's the weird undead that has like the paralyzing tongue that's really gross.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was an advanced Morgue, and I gave it the Shadow Creature template, so it was a Shadow Morgue. And I knew my players could handle it because I had like a homebrew gelatinous cube in the party and like a sprite or something. And
Please tell me the gelatinous cube isn't using Oslakamo's guide.
it was a gelatinous cube monk, and it punched the monster. And it was immune to the paralysis, so the monster did some good work there. But anyway, it actually ended up being a pretty tough fight because the advanced Morgue just hits for a buttload of damage, except that one of the PCs was a warlock who had a core elegant familiar, which is a little minus Celestial that can cast Fairy Fire at will. So the little bitty familiar casts Fairy Fire on the monster and just basically negates all the abilities that it gets from the Shadow Creature template.
Heh, sucker.
I can't help but notice that you did not deny using that guide.
I'm not familiar with that guide. I'm not sure what the player was using, but it was some sort of homebrew gelatinous cube savage progression.
Yeah, the Oslakamo's guide it's a homebrew savage progression manual that basically has attempted to turn every single monster in 3.5 into a playable class. I applaud them for doing it. but it's one of those things I absolutely will never allow in my games
Hmm.
because the monsters are designed using Oslakamo's design philosophy, which is it's special. Everything has some kind of hard counter to a lot of common game
So
elements,
is it
and
kind of
it's
like a rock paper scissors style?
yeah, basically.
Okay.
Um, Half the monsters just get freedom of movement for just for free automatically. They have freedom of movement just for having enough levels, which it's like it's not bad, but it completely invalidates grapples.
It also completely
A
invalidates the
lot
point of
of the
established
monsters
progression.
have ways to. A lot of the monsters just turn off regen or fast healing.
But the
Which
point of established progression is that you get the abilities that the monster normally has. They're just spread out over more levels. You
Yeah.
don't just add new abilities. That's
yeah,
established.
that's what I mean. Aslakamo, he just tosses abilities onto monsters that they didn't have.
I think that sort of system could totally work if you're building it from ground up with that in mind. But I mean, just taking all of third edition and making it do that kind of breaks a lot.
Yeah, which is why I don't like it. I don't use it as a DM. I've
Well,
had
this
the
was a,
unfortunate displeasure of playing with someone who refused to join a game if the DM wouldn't allow it. And of course, the DM allowed it because that was his girlfriend.
It's funny how that
well,
happens.
this specific campaign I took over from another DM, and that DM had, but before I got there, they had approved this awakened gelatinous cube monster class, and then there was also a prestige class made by the same person who did the awakened gelatinous cube monster class, and it was like it had all these ridiculous abilities, gelatinous cubes. I was like, when I took over the game, I was like, okay, you know what, this the monster class. That's okay, but this prestige class, no, that's not, no, get rid of that.
I did want to say that you picked a very nice creature to do the advancement for, though. I like the Morg. It's pretty powerful. I think that actually deserves its CR8 from the use I've gotten out of it.
Well, I was running a pre-made module and it had a morgue in it, but the players were a little higher level than normal, and so I had to advance it a little.
Nice.
Yeah, I did the same thing recently with the Age of Worms campaign that I've been running. My players were in the Hall of Harsh Reflections, and they were a little over leveled for the module. It was a relatively small party, so they're getting more XP. So I decided I'd turn up the difficulty, and there's these Octopins, which is this weird aberration monster that's genetically engineered by the Mind Flayer in his lair. Spoilers. Um, and the recommendation was like, if your players are a little higher level, then just advance these by a few hit dice and advance this one to an extra size category. It's like, okay, so I advance them a few hit dice, and then the players are playing through the dungeon. They get to the boss monster, and it's the Mind Flayer, and he's got these two advanced Octopin minions, right, to help with the action economy in the fight. And the Mind Flayer is doing all this like, whoa, ha ha ha, I'm evil. Players go and fight, and they just gun straight for the Mind Flayer. But then the Octopins, since they have like a million extra hit dice, the Mind Flayer dies in like round two. And then they're still stuck fighting the Octopins for like 5 more rounds after that.
That's pretty great. Yeah, unfortunately, I can't talk about the current monsters that I've advanced because you're both my players, and that would kind of spoilers. But
No, no, by all
yeah,
means,
by all
please
means,
tell
sure,
me the
sure.
million and one ways you're going to kill my wizard.
I'm sure that you'll all be fine. But yeah, I've got three species of monsters that I've already spread out a series of advancement tables, so I can be like, oh, they're that powerful. All right, I'll use this advancement version, or like, oh, they're not that powerful. I'll use this lower, not as much advanced version.
I mean, what's the worst that could happen?
Yeah.
The worst thing that happens is I get insta-killed.
Hey, nobody got was it dissolved by the Unraveler, so you're good.
Nobody's character got dissolved by the Unraveler.
Well, okay, so one summon got outed, but that was it.
See, the worst case scenario usually isn't too bad because they're fictional characters, so who cares if they die, right? I mean, it's just not that bad, right?
There you go. Oh,
And
oh,
if
so
you're gonna
here's
go down, you might as well
I'm
go
just
down in
going to
style.
assume you can sense the look of disapproval I'm sending you over the internet.
Oh, I absolutely can.
I, I was gonna say another
Honestly,
point.
I think the only monster I've tried to advance was I took an Arinez, the the fallen angel outsiders, and
It's a devil.
yes, it's a devil.
Okay,
I I slapped a bunch of class levels on it. I didn't actually advance it by its hit dice.
what a perfect segue. I was gonna say it's so much easier to advance creatures with class levels than HD, just because you use class levels with everything. You know, all your player characters are going to use class levels. All your humanoid NPCs use class levels. You're just used to it. You get used to all the abilities and everything. It's so much easier to just be like, all right, take a few levels of this, a few levels of that, that prestige class, whatever. Then when you stop and you're like, wait, I have to do hit dice now, and it affects what now? It's like, oh, all these things.
Honestly, I actually disagree. I feel like adding class levels, it's the same work. You're still adding, hit dice, you're adding base attack bonus, you're adding base saves, you got to think of feats and stuff. Now you also have to think of class features too. Um, whereas with hit dice, it's the same process. It's just like you're adding NPC class levels basically because
It's
the hit
it's
they're like blank.
Also, except then I'd have to actually use NPC class levels,
yeah,
which
right.
no, never.
I was going to say it is the same process, but it's the side of the process that I don't normally see, and I think is generally used less frequently. I have to reference these tables in the back of the mouse manual that I don't normally look at, and then deal with size changes, which I don't normally look at. So that's why I thought it was different, but it is definitely the same process. Minor
Yeah.
changes.
Honestly, I'm not a huge fan of advancing monsters in general, just because of the amount of paperwork that it takes, and it feels like it's not the best use of my prep time. What I like
Yeah,
to do
but
instead typically is use
when,
it
yeah, but
and
when you
find it.
need a challenge for a level 20 party, or really just any party past level 15, you kind of have to customize the monsters at least a little bit.
I usually prefer to find an existing monster that is the CR that I want, but it's true that at high levels sometimes that's not so easy to do.
I think that advancement gets easier and more fun the higher level the players are, because it gives you so much more wiggle room to add whatever you want to add. So, like, at level
For
1,
sure.
you really have no business advancing even low challenge rating creatures.
Of course. Well, sometimes at low levels, what you really want to do is advance them downwards. And that's even harder because there
That's
aren't
so
actually
hard.
guidelines. Yeah, there's no guidelines for it in the book
Yeah.
for how to de-level things. Unless the monster has a monster class, then you can use the monster class to de-level it. But usually there's no way in the book to do it. I was running a module last Thursday called Rhyme or Reason. It's from the Convergence Manifesto Adventure Path. I was converting it to 3.5, and I was running for a party of level 2s. So it takes place up in the Frostfell, and the first monster the players encounter is a Remmerhaz. It's like, oh, well, in the module's written for 5th edition, and in 5th edition there's a young Remmerhaz that's like CR5, and a level 3 party can take down a CR5 Remmerhaz. Let's see, what CR is it in 3.5? Oh, it's like CR7, and it's got like
Yeah.
100 HP, and it auto kills anybody if it hits them. Uh,
Eats them too.
well, yeah, well, so what I ended up doing was I replaced it with an Ice Toad, which from Frostburn is a CR3 Frostfell monster that feels like it preserves the spirit of the ambush encounter.
That's usually the way to go. Yeah, just pick a new monster. I actually I picked out two, maybe three creatures for the current campaign that you two are in, and I de-leveled them by removing hit dice. And they were going to be like the main NPC races of the world, but it just felt off. Like somehow their abilities even with lower DCs and whatever, and their stats, like, it just, ugh, it felt dirty. So I had to nix it after much consideration.
I think the only way to really do it is you got to come up with a custom monster class, right? And you just figure it out, and you give them fewer levels in the monster class.
Yeah. Or just, change the descriptive text of some monster and just use a stat block that works for you.
The Ice Toad did work very well, by the way. I got to almost eat one of the players, and then it actually killed half a player.
It killed half a player?
Yeah, the person was playing a Devati character, so I killed one of the
Okay.
twins.
Doesn't that potentially kill all the character, though?
Potentially.
Well, sure, they committed seppuku at the end of the adventure, but until then, the remaining twin was able to finish out the rest of the mission.
Well,
That'd be a real interesting race to see converted to 5th edition. Not that they would ever do it, because, complexity. Player choices.
I guess,
Giving people nice things.
I don't even know about nice things. For any of our listeners who aren't familiar with it, which I'm sure is a fair number of our listeners, Devati is a race that comes from Dragon Magazine. It has +1 level adjustment, and the premise of it is that you're playing 2 characters instead of 1. Like, you're 1 soul in 2 bodies. You're a pair of twins, and each of the twins has their own separate, actions in combat and stuff like that, but they share their daily resources. So if you're spellcaster, you share your spell slots between both twins, right? So this player, they were playing a Devati sorcerer, and it was kind of a Gish build. They had like weapons or whatever. I don't actually know what they were trying to do because they died in the first combat, but presumably if they were alive, they would have done like spellcaster things. Yeah, they're like in one sense they're powerful because they have double the number of actions of a normal character, but in another sense, part of the drawback is like their hit dice are cut in half. So they're super squishy. They've got a level adjustment, so you have 1 fewer class level than everybody else. And gear is a problem because you have the same amount of gold, but you gotta split your gear between 2 characters. So it's like you really have half as much gold.
and they're in Dragon Compendium.
Oh yeah, they were reprinted in Dragon Compendium.
Yeah. So for those of you squeamish about Dragon Magazine, you should still be able to say, hey, wait, they're in a published book.
Dragon Compendium is actually harder to find than Dragon magazines these days, though.
Oh no, we didn't do the saves. How did I miss the saves? How did we all miss the saves?
I wasn't watching the screen share. I assumed you already did it.
Oh. I did not realize that was what FRW was.
Well, it did say saves above it.
Yeah, but then next to saves it says
Okay,
breath.
I'm not wearing my glasses right now, so
That's all good.
actually can't really see my screen. It's all blurry lines.
Alright, so let's see. Normally 863. Possibly the only one changing here is going to be con. It's going to go by 2, so it's going to be 10. But then it gains 12 HD.
So for 12 hit dice, you're going to add +6 to Fortitude and Reflex, and +4 to Will.
There we go. Wow, I thought they had all 3 good saves.
No, dire animals have all 3 good saves. Magical beasts have good Fortitude and Reflex.
Huh. What do you know? That seems about what I would expect from a bruiser like this. Still gonna fail its will save.
Oh yeah, for sure. CR9, their characters are going to have like 5th level spells. It's like DC 20. I don't like its chances.
Nah. But until then, it'll give them a run for their money. Well, is that a good place to wrap it up, you two?
Yeah.
I think so.
And for those of you listening, tell us in the comments about the mistakes we made in this stat block.
Well, maybe I should remove the skills box then. No need to comment on that one.
Your ranks and scry.
Yeah, why not, right? All right. Well, once again, with me tonight was Fantasy Pen
Good night.
and Tracted.
That's me. See you next time.
Peace.